This woman charges $100 a night, yet boldly walks into a luxury boutique. The saleslady instantly judges her, eyes filled with disdain. But Vivian doesn't notice. She sets her eyes on the most elegant dress and asks, "How much is this?"
It's very expensive.
You're obviously in the wrong place.
Humiliated, Vivian walks out in silence. But the next day, she returns, wearing designer clothes, oozing confidence. The same clerk freezes in shock.
Big mistake.
Turns out, her overnight transformation is all thanks to one man, a wealthy client with a very unusual preference. And this unexpected encounter changes her life forever. Just days ago, Vivian is still working the streets with her best friend. Business is bad, rent is overdue, and things are bleak. Suddenly, a luxury sports car rolls by. To boost their chances, her friend sends the more seductive Vivian to approach the driver. "Are you looking for a date?" But to her surprise, the man isn't a customer, he's just lost. Vivian doesn't give up. She says, "Give me $10 and I'll give you directions." He's irritated, but hands her a $20 bill. She has no change. So, shamelessly, she hops in the car and offers to guide him herself. While in the car, Vivian discovers the man can't drive stick. She can't help but mock his terrible skills. He suddenly pulls over and lets her drive. Vivian lights up. This is her first time behind a luxury wheel. As they talk, she won't shut up. But oddly, he doesn't mind. He finds her amusing and even asks for her rate, $100 an hour. They soon arrive at a grand hotel. Edward, the man, says goodbye. Vivian gets the message. It's over. But strangely, he doesn't leave. Watching her sit alone at a bus stop, clearly unwilling to spend even on a cab, Edward starts to pity her. He walks back and agrees to her price. She's relieved. But just before heading inside, Edward drapes his coat over her to tone down her outfit. Yet the moment they step into the lobby, her true colors burst out. In a place filled with elites, Vivian's heavy makeup and exaggerated mannerisms stand out like a neon sign. In the elevator, a wealthy woman shoots her a disgusted look. Vivian fights back by going even bolder. Inside the suite, she explores the room with exaggerated curiosity, then casually sprawls out on the chair. Her awkward but bold behavior makes Edward chuckle, but when he doesn't make a move, she awkwardly asks for the money. Edward realizes and quickly pays her. Money in hand, she gets straight to the point. She pulls out a few condoms and tells him to pick a color. Edward panics, but Vivian goes straight for him. He suddenly stops her and says he just wants to talk. Vivian freezes. A client like this? First time ever. But she quickly adapts and cozies up next to him, hand on his thigh. Just then, the doorbell rings. Vivian tenses up. Turns out, it's just champagne. But when she sees the server still staring, she assumes it's judgment. In reality, he's just waiting for a tip. She's mortified. A street worker like her knows nothing about upper-class etiquette. Edward, though, stays classy and doesn't mock her. Vivian becomes curious. A man like him surely doesn't lack women, but Edward says he's divorced and recently single. Vivian then notices, despite being the client, Edward's the one pouring wine and offering strawberries. She feels guilty and reminds him that if they don't start soon, he's wasting money. Her constant urgency finally gets to him. How much for an entire night? You can't afford it. $300. Done. But things don't go as smoothly as Vivian expects. A few minutes later, Edward walks into the bathroom and sees her fumbling with something. She panics and tries to hide it. He immediately assumes she's doing drugs. It's just a box of dental floss. Vivian explains she got strawberries stuck in her teeth. Edward awkwardly apologizes and once again finds himself charmed by her quirky honesty. Edward goes back to work, completely ignoring her. Vivian doesn't mind. She lounges on the couch, watching TV and laughing out loud. Her carefree vibe starts to get to Edward. He eventually sits across from her, unable to look away. Vivian gets the message and kneels before him to start working. But before anything, she lays down her rule: I don't kiss. Hours later, they finish their first night together. Edward steps out of the shower and sees Vivian fast asleep. With her wig off and makeup gone, she looks innocent and pure. The next day, Vivian sleeps in. Seeing how busy Edward is, she quietly packs to leave, but he stops her and invites her to breakfast. Not knowing what she likes, he orders a bit of everything from the menu. As they eat, she curiously asks about his job. He explains he buys companies to make money. This week, he's acquiring one worth $1 billion. Vivian is stunned. She thinks he must be super smart. She confesses she dropped out in the 11th grade. Edward, on the other hand, has always been top of his class. She says, "Your parents must be proud," but Edward just smiles and says nothing. Though she lacks formal education, Edward notices her quick thinking. She asks how buying companies makes money. He explains he breaks them up and sells them off in parts. It's more profitable than selling whole. Vivian instantly gets it, like stealing cars and selling parts. Then she spots him fumbling with a tie and helps him out, even buttoning up his coat before he heads out. Just before leaving, Edward takes a call from his lawyer. He has a fancy dinner tonight and needs a +1. Suddenly, he hears loud singing from the bathroom. He walks in to find Vivian soaking in the tub, singing at the top of her lungs. The lawyer offers to set him up with someone, but watching Vivian's silly joy, Edward makes a decision. He hangs up and smirks at her. A few seconds later, Vivian realizes she just embarrassed herself in front of him, but Edward tells her he wants to hire her for the whole week. The deal is simple: be available, follow his lead. Vivian keeps cool, but says, "That's gonna cost you." Edward smiles. "Name your price."
4,000.
2,000.
3,000.
Done.
Just like that, Vivian becomes his week-long girlfriend. Before leaving, Edward hands her a stack of cash, extra money to buy some elegant clothes for dinner. To Vivian, this all feels like a dream, but when she walks the upscale streets in last night's clothes, the reality hits hard. People stare. Boutique clerks refuse to help her. Even someone used to humiliation like Vivian starts to feel the sting. She returns to the hotel heartbroken, only to be stopped by the hotel manager, who brings her into the office. He knows what she does for a living, but out of respect for Edward, he says nothing. Instead, he asks her to dress more appropriately moving forward. One attack after another. Vivian finally breaks. She pulls out all her cash and bursts into tears. No one wants to sell her a single dress. The hotel manager, once stern, softens his tone, then calls the women's department to arrange a proper outfit for her. Shortly after she returns to her room, the phone rings. Edward tells her to wait for him in the lobby tonight. He wants her to join him for an important dinner with clients. Then he hangs up. Not wanting to embarrass him, Vivian goes back to the manager for help, this time to learn table manners. That night, Edward arrives in the lobby and can't find her, until she turns around. The moment he sees her, he's speechless. Vivian, elegantly dressed and graceful, takes his breath away. But dinner doesn't go as planned. Despite her efforts to fit in, she still makes mistakes. When unsure which fork to use, an old man jokingly picks up his food with his hands to save her from embarrassment. Then she flings a snail across the room, making the whole table laugh, but the mood quickly shifts. Turns out, the old man and his grandson are begging Edward not to dismantle their company, but Edward is all business. He makes it clear he's going to break it up and lay off the staff. Dinner ends on a sour note. Back at the hotel, Edward seems off. Vivian senses he respects that old man, but Edward insists. Feelings never interfere with business. Vivian quietly agrees. She says that's why she doesn't kiss. Better to stay numb than feel anything. "You and I are such similar creatures. We both screw people for money." Though Vivian speaks tenderly, Edward just wants to be alone. Later that night, she can't sleep. Worried, she walks downstairs in her robe and finds Edward alone, playing the piano in the empty dining room, pouring his frustrations into every note. His lonely figure looks fragile in the dim light. Vivian walks up and complains she's lonely. Edward gets the message. He politely asks the waiter for privacy. In her presence, Edward drops his guard. He opens up for the first time, but when he leans in to kiss her, she pulls back again. That night, once more, their bodies connect, but not their hearts. The next morning, Edward suggests she buy more clothes, but Vivian isn't thrilled. "They were mean to me." "Mean to you?" So Edward drops everything and takes her shopping himself. At the store, the owner instantly recognizes Edward and starts kissing up, but Edward cuts him off. "Call all your staff. We're buying a lot." The owner is thrilled. He gathers his team and gives Vivian a full makeover from head to toe. Vivian finally experiences the joy of shopping. She even picks out a tie for Edward, a little thank you gift. Hours later, she walks the street looking like a brand new woman. Even the world around her feels kinder. She now knows to tip the bellhop. This kind of elegance is something she never dared to dream of. That night, Edward is stunned again. Vivian has set up a candlelit dinner. For the first time, romance begins to bloom between them. They soak in the tub together. Edward opens up about his past. His mother was abandoned and died young. He hated his father so much. He bought out his company as revenge. Since then, the two never spoke again. Vivian asks, "Was it worth it? Did it make you happy?" Edward goes silent. That numb heart of his starts to feel something again, something he hasn't felt in years. But just as they grow closer, one incident almost tears them apart. That day, Edward takes Vivian to a polo match and introduces her to his friends. But his lawyer grows suspicious, especially when he sees Vivian chatting with the old man's grandson. He assumes she's using her looks to get close to Edward and secretly passing intel. She's not a spy, she's a hooker. He bursts into laughter, mocking Edward for being rich but desperate. Edward brushes it off, but what he doesn't know is, later, the lawyer corners Vivian. "Maybe you and I could get together sometime after Edward leaves." In that moment, Vivian's heart sinks. These past few days, she almost forgot who she was. But now, reality hits her like a slap. She's still just a prostitute in their eyes. Back at the hotel, the couple explodes in their first real fight. Edward tries to explain himself. He didn't mean for things to go this way, but the damage is done. Frustrated, he admits it was the truth. Vivian doesn't deny it, but it still hurts like hell. Moments later, she packs up and tells Edward to pay her and let her go. Edward, holding back his anger, tosses some bills onto the couch. But once she leaves, he realizes she didn't take a single dollar. That's when he finally gets it. She never wanted money, just respect. He chases her down, sincerely apologizes, and admits it broke him to see her with another man. Vivian softens. "You hurt me. Don't do it again." After making up, they become closer than ever. Vivian opens up about her past. She couldn't pay rent, and her friends suggested she try the streets. Her first client made her cry the entire time, but she got used to it. Edward listens and says, her soul is beautiful, clean, and real. The next day, Edward plans a surprise. Vivian puts on a stunning red dress, but he says something's missing. He pulls out a $250,000 necklace. Right before they head down, Vivian says with a sweet smile, "If I forget to tell you later, I had a really good time." As they step out, everyone's stunned by her beauty. Even the hotel manager beams with pride. Though Vivian has seen Edward's wealth, she's still shocked when he takes her to a private jet. Turns out, their date is in Italy, to watch an opera. Before the show, she worries she won't understand anything, but as the music swells, the emotions transcend language. She's deeply moved, tears silently filling her eyes. Edward doesn't say a word, just watches her. Back at the hotel, she's still in a daze. The story of love in the opera stirs something in her. She begs Edward to play chess with her, but he says he has work. She asks, "Why can't you take a day off?" And the next day, he actually does. They stroll the streets, lay in the grass, and act like a normal couple. Vivian even steals his phone to make him relax. For the first time, their world slows down. They talk for hours, even about silly things, and every second feels real. That night, Edward falls asleep exhausted. Vivian looks at him and finally lets her guard down. She breaks her own rule. Her tenderness becomes his undoing, and in the dark, holding him close, she whispers, "I love you." Edward hears it and knows they're both in too deep to walk away clean. The final day arrives. Vivian looks devastated. Edward says he still wants to see her again, but what he offers next breaks her heart. He wants to rent her an apartment, like a man keeping a beautiful pet. But Vivian flat out rejects Edward's offer. He's confused. "It's better than being back on the streets, isn't it?" "That's just geography," she replies. Vivian opens up about her childhood, how she dreamed of being rescued by a knight. But in none of those dreams did the knight say, "Come on, baby, I'll set you up in a luxury apartment." What she wants is a real, equal relationship. Edward, hardened by years in the corporate world, has long forgotten how to love. But in just a few days, Vivian has unknowingly changed him. That afternoon, he's about to sign the deal with the old man. But at the last minute, he stops the meeting. He asks for a private talk. Turns out, he's changed his mind. He won't break up the company. Instead, he wants to help save it. Deep down, he's always respected the old man, and for once, he listens to his heart. The old man is stunned. "I find this hard to say without sounding condescending, but I'm proud of you." Moments later, the furious lawyer storms into the hotel, convinced that Vivian is the reason behind Edward's sudden change. He finds her and unleashes his anger, hurling insults and crossing the line, touching her without consent. Just when things get out of control, Edward shows up. He punches the lawyer and immediately fires him. Afterward, Edward gently tends to Vivian's injuries, but she says she's leaving. Edward asks, "Why not stay? What more do you want?" Vivian answers softly, "I'm greedy. I want it all. How much more? I want the fairy tale." She walks away. Edward sees her out, heart heavy. He pleads, "Stay the night, not because I'm paying you, but because you want to." But Vivian won't trade her love again, not anymore. Before leaving, she visits the hotel manager to say goodbye. She thanks him for his kindness. He treats her with genuine respect, and even arranges a car to take her home. That night, Edward lies awake. Without Vivian by his side, the room feels empty. It's a feeling he's never known, like his heart's been stolen, and he's no longer in control of his own emotions. Vivian, too, is no longer the same. She decides to find a real job, maybe go back to school. She leaves rent money for her roommate and encourages her to change too. Her friend, for once, looks serious. Maybe self-destruction isn't the only way out. Meanwhile, Edward checks out of the hotel. He hands back the rented necklace and the manager says, "Must be difficult to let go of something so beautiful." Edward pauses. That sentence hits him hard. He can no longer deny what he truly wants. Moments later, Vivian hears music from the street, the same tune she heard days ago. She looks out, and her knight is really there. Edward, terrified of heights, climbs the fire escape to reach her. In that moment, he finally becomes her prince, not just a passing visitor. This is Pretty Woman. Edward and Vivian's love may feel like a fairy tale, but maybe that's why we love it so much. Because fairy tales remind us that even when life breaks us down, a little warmth can heal it all. Edward may have saved Vivian, but her courage to change herself is even more powerful. Sometimes, having the strength to begin again, to love yourself first, is the real fairy tale ending.